Hi, my name's Craig Lapsley, Emergency Management Commissioner for Victoria. Today I introduce what is a concept that's not new, but it's important we put it into our operational doctrine, and that is the rural-urban interface strategies in the way in which we'll deal in the future with fires that impact from rural environments to urban environments that we are naming the rural-urban interface. And the reason we're being quite specific about the terminology, it's now seen by Queensland, New South Wales, Western Australia and now Victoria that we adopt a doctrinal approach, that is a principles approach consistent across states about how we deal with fires in the urban interface. To call it the rural-urban interface gives it a badge, it gives it terminology, and it allows us to work across states with the same terminology and the same approach. It's an important concept to develop. It's not new to us, but you know what? I think we need to revisit the way in which we apply that consistently, and that's why I applaud this project that we're leading. Obviously, you've got the opportunity to be part of that. So as we develop the strategy, take the concept to a strategic direction and then apply it operationally. So our commanders on the ground, those in control positions, those in leadership positions on the ground, are consistently applying the rural-urban interface doctrine is really important. It's one of those challenges. If you look at the challenges of Victoria, we will see the urban interface grow. The rural and the urban area will grow in the provincial cities. It will grow in the metropolitan area. It will grow to be an issue because we'll have more people that traditionally do not understand fire being interfaced in areas where fire will come to them. It'll be about bushland, it'll be about grassland, it'll be about the built environment pushing out into the environment. So it's really critical that we actually take this opportunity in 2016 to consolidate where we are, be consistent across Australia and use the rural-urban interface as an opportunity to re-emphasise things we know well, but we need to share it with the broader emergency services, the emergency management sector, and when I say that, that's with all of those players, including the community. So let's take it. Let's make 2016 one of those great opportunities. We've got great people leading a project. Let's get in and support them and give the feedback and the support they need to make sure we can put it on the ground that it works and works well. Thank you.
In the wake of the devastating fires in Victoria, fire agencies across Australia are putting a new emphasis on dealing with fires in the interface. As our population grows on the bushland-urban interface, the potential for devastating bushfires impacting on lives and property is increasing. It's important to acknowledge that these guidelines do not replace bushfire strategies and tactics, nor dictate a defensive option for all fires within the interface. However, it provides a mixture of structural, urban and rural defensive strategies and tactics that assist during extreme fire weather behaviour, limitations in resources, or the safety of crews and the public at risk. Rural-urban interface follows the state control priorities around preservation of life. In this video, we will be looking at the defensive suppression strategies in the interface, risks and other critical elements for safety in interface firefighting, how we assess what can be saved and what we cannot, and the process working on the fireground in the interface. What is the interface? The interface refers to the bushland-urban interface, where the built environment meets the bush. There are typically 4 types. In the classic interface, structures are very close to bushland, all surrounded by it. They can be small or large developments, and they might have only one road in and out of the area, making evacuation problematic, and water supply may be easily overrun. A closed or occluded interface is an isolated pocket of bush within an urban area. Fires in these areas can be easy to control since fuel is finite, though corridors can exist providing a potential path for fire spread. Mixed interface. By mixed interface we mean isolated structures surrounded by larger areas of vegetation. Water supplies may be minimal and access is more difficult. The isolation of structures increases demands on firefighting resources. A multiple ignition zone is comprised of large developments not close to vegetation, but which have the potential to be impacted by embers remote from a fire front. Deciding which mode of attack to use will partly depend on the answers to these questions. Where's the fire? What is burning? Where is the fire going? What's the intensity of the fire? How many and what type of resources do you have? How defendable are the threatened structures? Offensive strategies: direct, parallel, indirect. An offensive suppression strategy means attacking the fire and bushland using rural firefighting techniques, such as direct attack, which can work well in low-intensity fires with good access, parallel attack for medium-intensity fires, and indirect attack, which is used on high-intensity fires. Defensive strategies are normally used in interface firefighting, and they include line defence. A line defence is used when conditions would normally allow for an offensive attack, but you don't have enough resources to mount one in time. It involves stopping the fire from coming closer to structures using hose lines or tactical backburning. Ember defence. An ember defence is used when the approaching fire front is too intense to be suppressed by offensive means and there is significant ember attack. It involves extinguishing small fires as and when they occur. When firefighting, you should operate from safe positions behind suitable shielding and pull back to a safer refuge if you need to. Backstop defence. A backstop defence is used when there is no safe defendable space around buildings, or if the fire is too extreme to defend structures until the fire front is passed. When firefighting, you should withdraw a short distance to safe refuge. After the fire front is passed, you should move forward to put out any spot fires or structures on fire. Before we look at fire control tactics, size up and structural, let's consider some of the safety issues and risks. Safety is paramount at every stage of firefighting, from house preparation outside the bushfire season to decisions whether to evacuate. Extreme fire weather, public panic or poor communications are common risks at the interface. Here's some more. Poor roads, narrow bridges, sharp turns and distressed locals can all be hazardous to consider even when you're on your way to the event. Residents should follow fire danger ratings for their area and implement their bushfire survival plan accordingly. Residents who choose to leave should do so well before a fire is threatening them and travelling by road becomes hazardous. Residents should prepare their homes as well as possible. They should stay inside for the time it takes the fire front to pass and then emerge to deal with spot fires. Many deaths occur when people flee a fire by foot or car too late. Poorly timed evacuations can congest roads, obstruct emergency vehicles and increase the danger for everyone. Residents who refuse to evacuate can cause safety problems for themselves and for you as a firefighter. In extreme fire and weather conditions, crews may have no other option but to focus on protecting and rescuing residents from harm, rather than focusing on the fire control strategies. Early public warning with accurate information is vital. Communication and coordination. In a major interface incident, several emergency services may be involved. Communication is vital, especially when agencies use different technologies. Make sure you are familiar with your agency's SOPs, agency interoperability, develop and test relationships and contacts with key people within the community, support services prior to the fire season. Essential infrastructure. In the interface, loss of electricity or water supply can pose significant safety issues. Fallen electrical wires must be identified and rendered safe by the electrical authority. The reticulated water supplies often fail because of increased demand for firefighting. Use static water supplies whenever possible. If you are deployed to an area you are unfamiliar with, through move-ups or strike teams deployment, your risks increase. Make yourself familiar with the local stations, groups or district interface plans. If they have none, a thorough reconnaissance is a priority and ensure you use local knowledge. If this is your local area, keep crews abreast of your plans, especially as the fire season approaches. Independent action. It is vital arriving crews report to the incident controller or fireground commander for tasking rather than conducting independent action. This ensures the coordinated response with increased awareness of the incident controller's intent. The combining of crews and resources into a coordinated effort utilising strike teams or task force is recommended for interface fires. Incident controllers, fireground leaders and crews need to be aware of landowner and private units at interface fires who can assist with local knowledge, triaging of assets and conduct firefighting where safe and effective. Situational awareness. LACES in large interface fires, competing priorities, changing conditions and other factors can lead to a lack of situational awareness and compromise safety. Ensure LACES is implemented at all times. Encourage local pre-planning and interoperability involving all agencies, groups of surrounding stations, brigades, districts, zones or regions, and develop relationships with local landowners of major agricultural assets. Practical and theoretical exercising with case studies and staff rides in varying rural-urban interface locations will enhance the management of fires in the future. Utilise satellite mapping technology for pre-planning in the interface to assist with tactical exercises based on risk, first attack and control success at varying fire danger index levels, control priorities and intent, communication, defensive strategies and tactics, triggers and resource needs. Heat stress. Firefighter health and safety is always the highest priority. Watch out for fatigue, follow the hydration and nutrition policy. Size up. When you get to the fire, the first arriving officer will do a quick size up. You might be familiar with the size up of structural fires, but there are some different things to consider in the interface with the fire front approaching. Crew safety. Identify crew escape routes and safety zones in the area. Fire behaviour. What's the fire doing? How fast is it moving? How big is it? How intense is it? Topography. What is the topography of the area? What fuels are burning? Are there any natural or existing barriers? Spotting. Is the fire spotting? How far is it spotting? What is the fire danger rating? What are the current weather conditions? What is predicted? Potential. What is the fire's potential? Where will it be in half an hour, 2 hours? Threats. Are lives threatened? Are structures or high-value areas threatened? What are the incident controller's priorities and intent? What hazards need to be dealt with? Resources. Have enough resources been dispatched? How far away are they? What are the most appropriate resources and personnel for the tasks, such as urban pumpers and structural firefighters, tankers, slip-on units, aircraft, machinery, strike and task force teams? With rural-urban interface fires, ensure the appropriate personnel are delegated and appointed early into an incident management structure. The use of incident control, operations points, sector commanders and strike team leaders are important in the early development and establishment of incident control with rural-urban interface fires. As a guide, for separated single structures surrounded mainly by bush fuels, use a minimum of 1 appliance per structure, or for continuous single structures less than 15 metres apart, a minimum of 1 appliance per 2 structures and 1 additional truck for every 5 assigned to specific structures to float in between. Communication. What do others need to know? As soon as the first arriving officer has developed and recorded an incident action plan, this is communicated in a first informative message to the communication centre. The importance of clear and decisive word back and regular situation reports will assist with fireground situational awareness and emergency management. Crews are briefed, sectorised and moved on to their allocated tasks to conduct street assessment, structural triaging and allocation of appropriate resources best suited to savable assets. Structural triage. Are the structures nearby defensible? What can be saved? Interface firefighting is mainly focused on defending threatened structures, and you can't always save every one. Residents who have implemented their bushfire survival plans may have prepared their homes to reduce the impact of the bushfire. We classify properties according to the resources they'll take to protect them in a worst-case fire. Pre-incident planning can assist in determining strategies, resource requirements, and potential risks. Defensible structures can be defended with little or no help and require few resources to protect them. Active intervention. Some structures will require moderate resources and need active protection. From your structural triage and size up, implement tasks focused on protection of high-risk areas of the assets from ember attack and direct flame contact that may include windows, vents, rooftop air conditioners, garden beds, and ceiling spaces. This may also include, if time and space permits and where LACES cannot be achieved during ember attack and the fire impact, to conduct active intervention work, then leave to a safe anchor point. Undefendable structures are difficult to save without committing to numerous resources. Your toughest call may be the decision that a structure is undefendable. You'll be considering factors like whether there's enough defendable space, what are the demands on your resources, how extreme the fire is behaving, whether there's fuel adjacent to the building, whether the building is susceptible to ember attack. Making those assessments will also help you decide how to defend the structure that is defendable. House surrounds and setback make a big difference to defendability. Always consider your crew's safety, maintain mobility, and LACES. Decisions to leave a structure may also include whether the fire is making a sustained run. The water supply may not last as long as the threat, and the fire intensity may dictate leaving the area immediately. Structure protection. Once you have done your size up and briefed the crew, it's time to deploy your resources. Always consider the fire behaviour predictions before making any deployment. Remain mobile. The first principle of fighting fires in the interface under extreme conditions is to retain mobility. This means not automatically hooking up to the hydrant system. Mains pressure might be low, and if the fire front moves quickly, you might need to redeploy or evacuate. Instead, use the appliance pump and water supply. Whenever possible, use portable pumps and 38mm hose to work from static water supplies like pools, tanks, and dams. Backfill appliances as you need to, using filler lengths of 64mm hose. The lowest hydrant in the street will usually have the highest pressure. Whilst ensuring size up is followed and safety is considered, there may be times where large volume ground or appliance mounted monitors may be utilised from an independent standalone or dedicated water source. Reverse in. Reverse the appliance in to give you a quick exit. You should already have decided on safety zones, the best escape routes, and how to maintain communications between crews and up the chain of command. Ensure LACES is implemented at all times. Preparing your home. You'll be very busy making structures as defendable as possible. A common tactical mistake is to sit around waiting for the fire to come. Use the time effectively and remove combustible material, which might be anything from wood piles to garden furniture, away from the building, and place a ladder against the leeward side of the structure for roof access. Remember that houses in the interface don't usually burn down from direct flame attack, but from ember attack. Inside, remove combustible materials like curtains near windows. Close windows and doors. Access the ceiling space. Turn on lights to indicate you've been there, and help provide light when visibility decreases, and leave exterior doors unlocked. Watch out for ember attack. Embers will reach structures well ahead of the fire front. It's a good idea to have units patrolling streets or locations ahead of the main fire front to prevent greater loss. Most of the time, you will be wearing PPE suitable for bushfire conditions until commencing structural firefighting. Remember, if you need to undertake structural firefighting, make sure you are wearing your structural PPE and breathing apparatus. Hose tactics. Usually you will deploy two 38mm hose lines, preferably 2 lengths per hose line around both sides to the back of the structure. If there's time, you may be able to apply Class A foam over and around the structure. Rather than waste water on cooling or pre-wetting structures, Only use the hoses to put out spot fires and leave them in place until the structure is out of danger. Things to consider here. Remember, a direct attack on the fire requires a reliable and plentiful supply of water. You can only be certain of the water on the appliance and static water supplies. Always keep enough water for emergencies and avoid your first aid hose, as this reduces mobility because it can't be easily disconnected. Mopping up. Once the structures are considered safe, remember to leave resources behind for mopping up. Stay observant. The situation can change quickly. Heat stress, visibility, changing weather, available resources will all have an effect. In short, LACES is always implemented. Review. Firefighting interface fires present similarities and differences to both structural firefighting and bush firefighting. We've looked at some of them: suppression strategies, offensive and defensive, safety and risks, size up and developing a plan, structural triage, and the tactics of deploying crews and appliances on the fireground.